Hello.
Hey Dunks, how are you, man?
Good, bro. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Just a bit tired after work, but yeah, don't really have much to say for myself. What's been going on with you, man?
It's been a long ass day for myself and week, in all honesty, just work wise as well. But yeah, obviously, we just announced that I'm making my return to this battle rap shit, Pfak in New Zealand. So
Yep.
I guess that's good timing to do this chat like we finally thought we would.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've been trying to schedule this for quite a while. I think like well over a year or something like that. Because I think that
Yeah, right.
we were just looking for that one time to actually have a good chat about it. Because I didn't start doing battle chat until just around after you did your battle with KOTD and all that kind of stuff. But like since then, you've been like really active. Like even though not entirely in the battle rap community, you've still been, getting a whole bunch of different cats from the scene involved in your own podcast with Dine With Dunks and all that kind of stuff. So it's good that you're still keeping busy and keeping your brands popping up everywhere you go.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I've always been active to some degree, whether it was actually battling or just taking part and rocking up to events and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously, my podcast is a platform for other people to tell their story as well. Although, that's not, it wasn't battle rap orientated. Obviously, my homecoming being from battle rap, I obviously gave and meeting some cool ass people through that journey as well. It was cool to have someone that was on the platform as well. It was really cool, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, I think what we'll talk about right at this moment would obviously be your battle with Pfak. Now, obviously, just to reassure, this is your first international battle, as far as traveling overseas and all that's concerned, right?
Yeah, I haven't left the country for a battle. That's correct.
Yeah, that's right. Just making sure. So obviously Pfak has been a huge name, ever since he started out with his battle with Gibberish, and he's gone on to battle big names here in Australia. He's battled obviously Dwiz. He's battled Creepy J just recently, and he obviously battled Cortex as well, and in your hometown in Adelaide and all that kind of stuff. He's really been pushing up really quickly. He's pretty much just come to the part where he's pretty much declared as a top tier battler and all that kind of stuff. And with you obviously being in the scene for a number of years, even that trace back to Got Beef and all that kind of stuff. What's it like for you in preparing for not only your first international battle, but someone who's really risen up on the maps quite quickly?
Good question. I think I'll keep it 100, man. I think I bit off more than I could chew from the jump. I definitely not bit off more I could chew. I'll do my damn thing. But I knew the name. I'd seen a couple of little bits and pieces, and now obviously you look a bit more in depthly when you go battle a cat. And I watched a few of his battles. Oh shit! I'm like, this dude's really good. You know what I mean? I didn't know his whole story, but then I semi tuned in once I obviously heard the name that I was battling him, and very impressed with what he does. But man, I've prepared the same way that for battles that I have since the start, man. No matter who the name is, it's just I've last thing that I've come as hard as I have in every battle. It keeps progressing, whether it's different things, the same things. I feel like I just bring that intensity every time regardless, and I don't think that's going to change. I think if anything, it's probably the soil that we're on, you know what I mean? I might have to change it up a little bit for that crowd. Just from watching a few NZ battles over the past years, I can tell they got a different kind of style and they react to different kind of things as well, which, if anything, probably accommodates me a little bit more than I would in Australia, as silly as that sounds. But I think I might just take a bit of a different approach as to what I'm actually saying to get it in touch with the crowd. I guess that's probably my biggest thing, is just adapting to that crowd.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. And not to mention the fact that obviously so far Cortex and Vago have been announced for the Pfak event. I think that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, pretty much considering that you've got people that you've obviously been acquainted with over the years in battle rap, do you think it's kind of made you settle in a little bit more with this lineup?
100%, man. I think, to be honest, I hadn't planned to come back to this shit. I've never said no as such. So I never said I wouldn't come back, but I'm not the easiest person to deal with when it comes to battle rap. From a promoter standpoint, and I understand that, and I always tell them I'm not. But I'm very time-orientated person. I'm always busy, and you really need to catch me in the right time, especially in this last year where I've been doing so much other stuff. It's all love, and I've always loved battle rap, but I'm just a picky motherfucking person at the end of the day. But I think it was, I literally just fucking seen that on their Facebook, that New Zealand, battle rap page or whatever it was. They announced that Vega battle, they announced that other battle, the Cortex battle, and then they're saying like who wants in or something, or Vega wrote something like, who would this dream match be? Who would your dream matches be for the rest of this card? And I seen that Australia versus New Zealand shit, and I just wrote on the status literally like, count me in. Like, they were talking about dream cards, and I literally just as a joke wrote, count me in, like put me in your dream card, see who you want me up against. And then like 5 minutes later, I'm fucking booked for a battle in New Zealand. It really went down like that.
Yeah. No, that's.
So I just showed some interest. Basically, I think, but it is that, I don't know, there's something about that NZ versus Oz stuff that I really like. I mean, my battle rap come up was watching the Battle for Supremacy and stuff like this from the freestyle days, so I think something about that really entices me.
Yeah, and I suppose it's also kind of got that, I guess you could say it's like an international, like a Southern Hemisphere international version of Gannick versus Gully, if you will.
100%, man. Yeah, it's really cool. I think if I don't know if they're selling it like it's NZ versus Oz. Like, I've seen a couple of little things. It doesn't seem like that's the way they're really selling it, but I think that's a good selling point. Obviously, with the likes of Vega, Cortex, and myself on the card, like as the first 3 announcements, I'd like to think that Australia is being represented pretty well.
Yeah, that's it, man. And well, considering the fact that this is your very first battle in well over a year, you only had 2 battles in 2017 where you battled Creepy J in your hometown in Adelaide, and then a couple of months later you went off to battle Carter Deems. And obviously, that's a really long period in between breaks with battle rap from your next battle, between then and your next battle. So did you kind of get this perspective, like not so much on who you were battling, but did, like, over time when you were still, just organizing stuff with Dine With Dunks and all this kind of hoo-ha, did you get this frame of mind where you've watched certain battles, or you've had like a certain idea of like how you want to take a different approach with who you're going to battle next, regardless of how big or small the name is?
As in, like, from what have I watched and what have I seen within that year that I've had a time off that's inspired me to some degree? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
I've watched, to be real, like, I've been so busy with some other stuff that I kind of have been a little bit offset. We'll call it a year that I haven't battled. The first 6 months, I really took some time off. I still love battle rap. I'll come back and I'll watch battles, but nothing really got me to the point of inspiration. I really enjoyed seeing Vega and Dunners and stuff just obviously tear up, and the boy Ted. Those 3 just really represent on an international level. Yeah. I was inspired by that because from the jump, that was always what I wanted to do. I wanted to get to that spot. Unfortunately, it didn't work that way. It's never too late as such, but I was definitely inspired by those boys going to kill it, and then seeing Vega and Cortex and these kind of cats on that. And like I said, it was really that Oz versus NZ, that you got something to fight for. You're not just rocking up to one battle and then just battling one dude. This fact that you can like almost sell it as a team. There's something about that that really gets me, man.
Yeah, that's it. Especially considering, just like you mentioned before, Vega and Dunners have just been going all around the world, and Ted made his international debut in the UK of all places, which is a really good start. 100%. And Dundee, he's obviously been making a brand for himself for a number of years, and he had his Don't Flop debut outside of the country, and then he went to King of the Dot twice, and Vega came along to battle last year, which was amazing because that was the first time just more than one Australian has appeared on an international card like outside of Australia, which is really amazing because back then you would only have just like one every year for world domination. 1 year you've got Anecdote, then you've got Manners, then you've got Purpose, all these different characters and all that kind of stuff. But now it's come to the point where they're actually wanting to book more Australians, and with this upcoming event for Pfak over in New Zealand. Like, this is probably the most that just any country has had Australians in a just on the one lineup. Like, so far there have been 3 announced, but as far as I'm aware, there have been 4 confirmed for the card or something like that. But I think that
Australians?
it's just, yeah, I think they
Yeah, I
just
think that's the case.
yeah, I think they've just so far, like, battle rap for Australia has just gone so much further as opposed to what, 360 and Cursor have done. Like, not disrespecting them, because obviously they had a huge impact on Australian battle rap, but like, nowadays it's coming to the point where we're starting to get more attention away from those big names that are also well known in Canada and the US.
I think what I've noticed is, like, the first kind of people you mentioned, it was, the 360s, the anecdotes, the purposes, this kind of stuff going over KOTD, and it was more like, not like a token effect, like, we're just getting, it's called world domination, so we better get someone from Australia.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, I think that everyone was representing themselves. In the last 2-3 years, I feel like Australia is trying to represent Australia and put each other on the map, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
5 years ago, you only hustled for yourself. Like, there was no forums, people weren't getting behind each other to the degree we are now. It was just like, I want to get here, I want to do this, I want to do that. But nowadays, I see a lot of, I want him to do this, I want him to do that, and motherfuckers are rallying behind that. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, yeah. Now that you've said that, yeah, that definitely makes sense. But like, I think
you've got your forum, your little Facebook groups and forums and shit now. And to my discredit, it's some shit that I'm not really good at myself, and I'll be the first to admit that. But you've got people like Vader and those are really good at hustling online, man, and they've got these groups of people that fucking back behind them, and they've taken places off people, them building like a name online and just saying, like, you've got your team Oz, your team Vega and shit, and at Vega for world domination and all this kind of stuff. These little hashtags that float around. That it's all about, like, that online presence has changed the game a whole lot, I think.
Yeah, that's it. Because, well, as far as I'm aware,
and obviously, sorry, just to
no, that's all right. That's all right.
Obviously, you've got to be able to fucking rap as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like we're just getting behind anyone for the sake of it. But I just feel like people were hustling for themselves back then, and now everyone's looking out for each other to some degree.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that, one of the things I actually learned just from what Vega has done is that thanks to him, a lot more people in, like, not just Australia, because, like, all around the world have just been upping not just their promo game, but also just, like, themselves. Like, they've been staying active on forums like day in and day out, from like 6 a.m. until like 5 a.m. the next day and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's amazing, like, how much dedication is put in, like, not just to themselves, but also branching out to people about who to watch. Like watch this guy Ness. He's from Adelaide. He's a big up and comer in our country. He should be going up in international very soon. Or and then someone from the US will say, all right, here's one of Eddie I. Check him out. He just had a battle with Saints. That kind of thing. It's amazing how much of a rapport is going backwards and forwards with just like all this online communication through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, just everywhere. It's just amazing how much of it's not just like an underground community. It's pretty much just expanded into this, it's hard to explain. It's just expanded. It's like it's created its own universe, I guess you could say.
100%, and it's worldwide as well. Like, you can just interact with people on a worldwide basis so quickly and so effectively that I think it's just changed the game a bit.
Yeah, that's it. Also, something else I really wanted to talk about now. Obviously, for the last couple of months, well, actually a whole year now, you've been going at it with Dine With Dunks. Now, obviously, I think you started that up just a couple of weeks or something like that before I did Battle Chat or something like that. But either way, like, I've been listening as often as I can, and I have to say, your podcasts are really enjoyable. And this is someone who rarely listens to podcasts, by the way. I actually find them really exciting and all that kind of stuff. But what I really like is the diversity of, guest appearances and all that. You're not just bringing in rappers, you're bringing in people who play in sports, who wrestle, and, just fanatics in general. And I think that's really amazing, because usually a lot of podcasts don't really stick to like a very diverse outlet for different people, because you know sometimes like some of the podcasts I've heard, it's just like, all right, this week we've got this guy who plays in a metal band, another one who plays in a rock band, and you know that kind of thing. Whereas with this one, you're getting people who you don't only just know personally, but just like people that are like really well-known figures in their own branch, if you know what I mean. And that's really 100%. That's really special.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole thing with the podcast was like the reason why I started it all was like, you know, I did the music kind of stuff for a while, I did the battle rap stuff, and I was a big fight fan as well. So it all kind of, and you know, I was listening to a lot of fight podcasts at the time. I'm like, I could do a podcast. I know some cool people, you know. I mean, I've met so many people through the journey of music and battle rap and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I feel like I've got enough people where we can just sit down, drink some beers, and talk shit, and like hear a different side to people's story. You know what I mean? And there wasn't really like that kind of outlet here. Like if it's the kind of people that I've had on my podcast, if they had the opportunity to get on something else, they're getting asked cliche questions and shit, you know what I mean? Whereas I have no agenda. We just sit down, we literally just have a couple of beers and talk serious amounts of shit, and I have no idea where it's going to go from the jump, and it goes in cool, and it happens to just fucking go in cool ways, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it kind of gives it a lot more personality to the podcast, where it doesn't feel contrived. It's not so formulaic. It's pretty much just like a casual chat, and I guess that kind of makes the podcast a lot more appealing, because yeah, like you said, the whole cliche questions about like what you do, how have you improved, you know, that kind of thing, you know, and that's coming from someone who kind of does that regularly as a regular interviewer. But from your perspective, you're not only you're not interviewing the person, you're asking them questions, but you're giving it more of an interesting approach. You know what I mean?
I think I just do shit. I think I just ask questions. If I'm asking questions, it's stuff that I want to know. And I just so happen to think that that's what other people probably want to know as well. And like from listening to podcasts and hearing people on like as guests and stuff, I feel like when they're at their most vulnerable, it's when they become relatable. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's it. And like, what have been your favorite podcasts so far? And like, what have been some of the most interesting stories that you've heard from some of your guests along the way?
Oh man, that's a fucking great question, man. I'm so caught up. I think I've done it I basically haven't done battle rap for a year, which must mean I've done my podcast for a year. So I've done one podcast every week for the last year. So I'm a little bit ahead of myself as far as the scheduling and stuff. So I've at least probably done 50 podcasts in the last year. So that's 50 different people to some degree. And I'm fucking lost as far as where I am. But ones that spring to mind, Trials from maybe Original / Funkors, Kirk, Miles Simpson. I'm a massive Flight fan as well. So just I've been a massive Flight fan, but never been involved in the fight industry like I have the rap industry as such, so I never understood the ins and outs. So I was literally, like I said, I was just asking questions about the fight game because I wanted to know them. Like I said before, about cutting weight, about, you know, walking out to your music and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of fighters that I was just really intrigued by, which I heard their story as well. Just some really cool old school hip hop dudes like Kirk, who's an massive Adelaide head, who kind of put a few dudes on like the Funkors and stuff. Just guys with a wealth of knowledge, man, and everyone's been as good as the last, man. Just a wealth of information that I've learned from a whole bunch of different people. The biggest problem I'm having at the moment is Adelaide's small as fuck, and I'm running out of people. So if you're listening to this and you want to come on Dine With Dunks, just fucking hit me up and come to my house.
Yeah. But there's also obviously you also had an interview with Defron, and shout outs to dude, he's my mate.
That was dope too.
Obviously, how did it get arranged, like between you and Defron? Like, did he just so happen to be in town, and you were just like, hey, do you want to have a couple of beers and just have a chat on this podcast I'm doing, or like how did it get arranged?
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, I've known Def forever, man. I think my first battle, that might have been his first battle or second battle as well. It was like the second Got Beef event in Adelaide, probably like fucking 10 years ago now. So I've known Def forever, and he's always one guy I used to relate to because we were both heavy into hip hop as well. There's a lot of guys that, you know, and that's no discredit to anyone, like, but I've always been a massive hip hop head, and Defron was always a massive hip hop head as well. So we'll go back and forth about new releases and this kind of stuff as well. So we always chatted regardless, and we had a similar interest in music, which I think I respected a lot from him. And then I think he randomly hit me up like, "Yo, I got a wedding this week in Adelaide," or whatever week it was, like 2 weeks time or something. I'm like, "Yeah, cool, come down." I think he slid through or something, and yeah, we just got in the beers, man. And he was staying in the city, and I think I dropped him off at the train, and he caught the train back in the city, and that was it, man.
That's really cool, man. Well, yeah,
I'm more than happy to make it work for anyone, man. To be honest, like, it's a new face is a good face, basically.
Yeah, that's it. Well, just to let you know, if I ever happen to be in town in Adelaide for a gig or whatnot, I'll let you know and see if we can organise one. If you
we can organise that in a second, my friend. Hit me up.
Absolutely, man. I'd be more than willing to. Love Adelaide. It's a beautiful city.
It's a lovely place.
Actually, you know, like, I haven't been there like a whole lot. I think like the first time I actually went to Adelaide was in 2013, and that was for the Soundwave Festival. I don't know if you remember Soundwave.
I do.
Yeah, I was there for the, I think Metallica, Linkin Park, Blink-182 were Perfect Circle, and The Offspring and all these other bands were playing that year over at
They were all playing in Adelaide?
Yeah, they were all playing
Jesus
in Adelaide.
Christ.
Yeah, and believe it or not, that was like the first year Soundwave ever sold out nationally, and that was like the 10-year anniversary or something like that.
Yeah, that's massive.
But yeah, like I'm somewhat familiar with Adelaide. Like last year, I went for the Dillinger Escape Plan tour because they're one of my favorite bands, and I went to Fowler's live, and I actually remember some stories about how Amped Up actually had an event just around the university and where Fowler's live is and all that kind of stuff, where they had like the outdoor battle rap and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. There was definitely battles at Fowler's as well, 100%.
Yeah, that's right. I think
I remember Real Talk did an event at Fowler's.
Yeah, I can't really remember like all the events that have actually happened with like Got Beef and Real Talk and all that kind of stuff. But you know, Adelaide itself has a lot of rich history. You know, personally, from my point of view, you know, I always hear people say, "Oh, there's not much to do in Adelaide," but every time I go, like, one of the highlights I love about Adelaide is the food. I reckon out of all the cities in this country, Adelaide's just got like the best fucking food. Because I remember going for the Dillinger tour with a couple of friends. We all went to this Italian restaurant. I forgot what the name of it was, but apparently like a whole bunch of famous singers like Simply Red and all that actually dined there once.
And what? This was in the city somewhere, or?
Yeah. This was in the CBD.
And you're gonna tell me it was the best Italian food you ever eaten, right?
Yes.
That's how we do it. Man. Adelaide shit.
But I also love. I actually had this story with a couple of friends. Well, not so much a story, but something that we always do. My best friend plays in a metal band called Capital Enemy, and he was in another band called Any Last Words, and they had this ritual that every time they go to Adelaide, they always go to the original Pancake Kitchen, and you know, I've been doing the same, and that place is fucking fantastic, man.
That's your spot now, is it?
Yes, absolutely.
That's fucking great.
Yeah, but like I remember when the last Real Talk Adelaide event happened, the one with Outcry for Pfak and Cortex and all these other characters, I remember, you know, just flying in, feeling just
you battle on that card?
I was supposed to battle on that card. I was supposed to battle a newcomer named Bobo, but like a couple of days before the battle, he just backed out for no reason. Like Kimura even tried, you know, convincing him to stay on, but you know, no dice. So I was.
And you already had your whole stuff. You already had everything planned, obviously.
Yeah, I had everything memorized from top to bottom. I'm like, fuck. So I was just like, I'll still come and show my support, and you know, I paid a favor for Nemflow and just did some of the interviews after the battles and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, like I remember just like feeling just absolutely destroyed from the flight. Like I think I got gastro or something like that, but I still went, and even though I wasn't hungry, I still chopped down the pancakes and the bacon and everything else. I could not resist. Like, it was impossible to give up on.
Oh, man, the whole Dine With Dunks thing as well comes from my love of food, man. I'm a massive food critic and food lover, so, like, I've been around the joint and I've been eating everywhere lately, man. It's my new thing.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you started up the whole food channel with Dine With Dunks and all that. Like, I don't know if you've actually seen this YouTube channel, but have you heard of I think it's something like First We Feast or Hot Ones, where they interview celebrities and they eat different hot wings and it gets spicier each one.
Hot Ones is fire, man. Hot Ones is really dope.
Yeah. I think my favorite one would have to be, have you seen the one with Danny Brown?
I haven't, no. I haven't really copped them religiously, but I've just watched the odd one if they pop up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Danny Brown is fucking hilarious. And, you know, as someone who's, you know, not that much of a hip-hop listener, I can confidently say that, you know, Danny Brown is one of my favorite rappers. Like, he's got such a unique flow and all that, but, like...
That's crazy you say that, because I know heaps of dudes that aren't hip-hop heads and almost sort of metal heads as well, or rock heads or whatever, and they tend to like Danny Brown. So it's obviously something about what he does that you guys fuck with, right?
Yeah. I think it's just because of his flow and his
delivery as well. That odd fucking offbeat delivery, and his voice and his way, and his beat choice is always a bit weird as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he has some really weird producers. Like from what I understand, he actually had like his latest album, Atrocity Exhibition, was actually named after a Joy Division song, and you know, Joy Division are a very, very big post-punk band from the late 70s and all that kind of stuff, and you know, he has a huge love for some of the heavier music, so that's kind of interesting, and like especially because of his polyrhythmic delivery, I guess you could say, is what makes it a little bit more interesting. But
100%.
But yeah, like going back to the Hot Ones channel, like I just remember him just being asked really casual questions, not like questions you would ask a regular interview or anything like that. It kind of reminded me a lot of the Dine With Dunks podcast, but what they do is that they have really funny reactions to all the different spices that they have on the chicken wings, and you know, they get asked different questions. Like he was talking about different food references that he had in his lyrics. I think he had one lyric, something like stank pussy smell like Cool Ranch Doritos or some shit like that. And like the guy was just asking like, oh, where'd this lyric come from? And he's just like, I don't know, I guess I was high at the time or something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's always high, that dude too. That's what I was gonna say.
He's a real character, but yeah, just going back to the podcast and all that, like, have you ever had an idea of who you wanted to put on next? Like whether it be, you know, a local cat or someone who's outside of Australia? Like, do you have anyone in mind of like who you want to put up next
on the podcast?
Yeah,
everyone, man. I literally don't care. Like, everyone's got a cool story and wants to come have a beer with me and talk some shit. It is really that simple. I mean, like, I've obviously got people that I'd love to come on. I'd shoot for the stars with some of them, but I literally just want cool people that I want to sit down and have a chat with and have a beer with, because that's all we do at the end of the day. So yeah, literally anyone's welcome, man. It's all love.
Yeah, that's it, man. I really like that. And
probably more battle rappers, to be honest. I've had that, like, you know what I mean? Like, I had Vega on at the start. I've had a couple, like maybe Dunners to come in here. Obviously, me and him have battled. That's a pretty cool perspective, like from two dudes that have battled each other, just to sit down and have a beer and talk some shit. He'd be a great one to have on. I was going to reach out on that Oz Battle Rap, the group the other day, just be like, yo, if any of you motherfuckers are in Adelaide, just come down and talk some shit. Yeah,
that's it. And do you reckon that after the, like, if Pfak ever does return to Adelaide for, like, whether it be an event or just for a holiday or something like that, after you guys have been at each other's throats in New Zealand, do you reckon you guys will hook it up with an interview?
Oh, of course, man. I'm a lover, man. I love everybody, man. Everyone's welcome. We'll talk that shit on the day. And then I was going to even fucking take my shit over there and do one in New Zealand, man. Do like a live one from New Zealand or something. That's what I'm trying to tee up right now.
That would be really cool. I reckon you should definitely try and hook something up. Like,
I won't be able to bring my full like setup and stuff, but I might just bring a GoPro and a couple of collar mics or something. I might get something popping off in New Zealand.
Yeah, absolutely. I reckon that anyone from 1 Ounce would be more than willing to have that happen. Like, maybe over at their house, maybe like backstage, who knows? Like, it'd be really cool to see that happen. You know,
I think me, Vega, and Cortex, and the other dude that's going to get announced, who I won't say just in case, I don't know when this drops, I don't know when they're making that announcement. I think we're all posted up in the same kind of area anyway, so we could do like an Oz battle rap fucking one from New Zealand, man, which would be kind of cool.
Yeah, kind of have it as like a group thing instead of just having the two guys together, and maybe you turn it into like a group session.
Man. Like, as I said, like I'm bounded by the restrictions of my room here, you know what I mean? So if we've got a different area, we can do what the fuck we want.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And something else I also really wanted to talk about, I guess you could say it's a bit of a touchy subject, but like obviously earlier this year we lost one of the greatest battlers from like not just in King of the Dot, but just in battle rap in general, and Bender, who's obviously had a huge impact on not just King of the Dot, but every other battler around the world. Like he's been well known for his crazy multi-syllabic rhymes and like just his overpowering punchlines and all that kind of stuff. And I remember you saying quite a few times that he's been one of your biggest influences in battle rap, like since the beginning. And like with his death occurring, like how did that occur to you when you found out the news about him?
Death always freaks me the fuck out. We won't get into that, but yeah, I always struggle to understand the grips of that shit. But man, Bender's a dude that would you know, we're talking about getting inspired for battle rap and stuff. If I ever was losing inspiration or I ever needed inspiration, I'd go back and watch Bender verse 24/7. That battle in particular, you know what I mean? Like, I could watch all the Bender battles, Bender Arcane, Bender Osa, but just, like there's several. But that Bender verse 24/7 battle, I would say is one of my favorite battles of all time, and for 24/7's sake as well, because he puts on a showing in that. But like, When I was watching, I'll try to look it up while I'm doing it. I don't know what year that's from, but
Yep.
that would have to be, 6 or 7 years old now, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Hang on, let me try to do this real quick, man. So I'm on my computer at the same time.
No, all good, man.
So 7 years ago, Benderverse 24/7.
Yep.
That's what I said. I said 6 or 7 years, I think. So he was just on. No one was doing that at that point in time. The stuff that he was doing, that multi-syllabics and just taking it to this different level. No one was doing that. And as much as that's not even my style, I was just watching this dude like fuck. Like he was literally on some next shit. But yeah, I think just for the fact that battle in particular, Benderverse 24/7, that's one that I can just go back to and watch every day of the fucking week if I had to, man.
Yeah. What other battles do you reckon have kind of inspired you over the years that you keep going back to, like not just for inspiration, but just to watch on a casual basis?
That's a good question. Benderverse 24/7, there's one.
Yep.
I always like going back on Marv 1 versus A-Verb.
Mm-hmm.
Hollow the Dom versus Pass.
Yep.
I grew up on that GrindTime shit, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Justice versus Saurus in a Scribble Jam, that final battle of the Scribble Jam, or the semifinals before Iron Solomon came in.
Wasn't
that shit's crazy, man.
Yeah, wasn't that like 2004 or something like that?
That was, I could probably tell you that as well. Oh, that would probably be uploaded by someone else. That was 10 years ago, surely.
Yeah.
It would have to be more than 10 years ago, yeah.
Absolutely.
Justice versus Saurus. Shit. Anything with Pass in it, he's probably one of my favorites of all time.
Pass is one of my all-time favorites. I love Pass.
Yeah, I love Pass, man. I think I relate to Pass. I think that's who I'd like to mold my shit around them. Just those cool motherfuckers, you know what I mean? I've always tried to play that role to some degree. Like, you just, like, it doesn't have to be the most hard-hitting shit and the most intricate shit. You just say it in a cool way, and I think that's Pass. He just, like, plays it off so cool, calm, collected.
Yeah.
Who else, man? Daylight versus Rich Dollars.
Oh, yes. I love that one.
I don't know. It'd be heaps of oddball ones for me. That probably, yeah, I think Daylight versus Rich Dollars is a good one. Thesaurus versus Kruger. Who else? Charlie Clips versus O'Shea for another odd one.
Yeah, that was a funny one. Like it was.
Yeah, just.
It wasn't necessarily a one-sided battle, as a lot of Clips fans would usually call it, because I reckon that O'Shea still put on a good performance, and even though there was that little squabble in the second round, at the end of the day, they were just having a good time with it.
Some of the stuff that I've really been going back to lately is it's some URL stuff, but I really struggle to sit down and watch a whole battle because it goes for fucking 14 hours, so I just find the bits that I like that whole, that's the way you talk to your son and that type of shit. I can just watch that round maybe or something. I tend to go back to that kind of stuff a lot now lately as well, because some of those guys, man, they're on some real neck shit as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, when you look at different scenes in different leagues all around the world, you'll find that they have, they meet different, they meet people's standards in so many different ways, I guess you could say, because, well, with URL, you know, they're not just about the gun talk or anything about that, they're about the wordplay, but they also love their technical shit at the same time. But, you know, you don't really find, like, it's entertaining, but you don't, like, feel the entertainment value that you get out of a Don't Flop, a Chalked Out, or a King of the Dot battle. And I think that these days a lot of people are trying to find more entertaining battles, not just the ones that have like really cool wordplay from the likes of Mike P, Briz Rawstein, or Ill Will, or any of these cats.
Yeah, I think that's well, see, here you go. I was watching JC versus Chilla Jones before you called, so that's a really cool one too.
Oh yeah.
I just like those. I like the URL ones that are less on the big stage. You know what I mean? I like those proving ground type of battles where there's just it's like a small room and it's dudes that are hungry as fuck.
Yeah, that's it.
I really think I relate to those ones more. You can tell these dudes are just trying to kill a motherfucker. You know what I mean? There's something about that I like even more.
Yeah, that's it. And like, you know, one of my favorites from URL, well, two of my favorites actually are, well, Briz Rawstein for one, because I remember seeing his battle with Arsenal, and he was cooking the shit out of Arsenal in that battle. But there was also Bill Collector. I remember watching one of the older URL battles of him battling, I think, QP, and another one with... That's
one of my favorite battles.
Yes.
Bill Collector versus QP.
I really like the entertainment approach. Like they're still creating this formulaic approach that, you know, suits the needs of like the URL crowd, but they're making it look interesting. Like they're you know, they're serious about what they want to do to their opponent.
I think the craziest that I want to reflect on that Bill Collector fucking QP battle, because that's one of my favorite battles of all time. That now your chin on your neck, now you breastfeeding. Bill Collector fucking changed the game with his delivery and stuff, man. I used to love that boy. But the thing with the thing that I struggle with URL is like the crowds determine the battle. You know what I mean? So that doesn't happen anywhere else. Like Bill Collector did that performance, and the crowd just so happened to love him. And I think that's what made me like him more, because the crowd was reacting. And then all of a sudden, you know, he battles somewhere else. This isn't facts. This is just the way I see it. Like 6 months later, he battles in another state or something. They're booing him for his rounds, and I find it tougher to digest.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
a lot of booing and hit, like heckling and shit, and then I struggle to digest some of these battles. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now that you've said that, yeah. But like, then you have some of the other battles from King of the Dot and all that, and you know, it's pretty much mutual love for everyone. But like,
that seems to be. I'll tell you one dude right now that's probably my favorite to watch, as far as just like from a writer standpoint, is Mad Flex.
Yes, I love Mad Flex a lot. Like him and Peanut Pass are like in my top 5 of all time, and like Mad Flex, him and Soul, I reckon are like two of the best riders in the game at this moment. I reckon that like Mad Flex is like, he's very, very underrated as not just a battler, but also as a rider. I reckon that he just has the ability to outright and outperform just about anyone that you put him up against.
Agree. I think Tony D's one of those guys too. I think he's one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah, because he was the champ for a number of years, and then he gave up the title, and you know, Sam Asia and Soul went on and battled on Don't Flop for the title, and you know, he kept battling, but then him and Soul finally had their battle earlier this year, and you know, everyone was just giving that battle acclaim, just saying like, oh Jesus, Soul's not human, and you know, but at the same time they were also talking about, like, you could see from the footage, like if you watch back the footage, you can see how much respect that they have for each other, despite being at each other's throats for like the whole 30 minutes of the battle.
100%, man.
But I think another thing too with just with like the international influence that it's had in Australia, like obviously it's grown heaps from when you started out leading up to this point, because obviously, you know, this is something I've come back to quite a few times, but obviously, you know, when Cursor 360 and all these other cats were doing all the dick and mum jokes, you know, people still like them, but like nowadays when you look back at it, as lame as they can be on a newer card these days, you know, you still got to show respect for, you know, what those battlers had, you know, what they've done and how they affected the scene. But like, I think the good thing now is that, you know, because people are more interested in what the cats from GrindTime and Scribble Jams did back in the day, leading up to this point, I think that's actually made Australia stand out a lot more in the scene, whether you look at it from a national or an international perspective.
As in like what we're doing now.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think the thing with like even a few of the crowds in my last, you know, even a couple of Adelaide crowds that I've done and stuff, I think some of the fans just aren't as educated as some of the battlers, and you know, there's a group. We all know who the group of people are that fuck with the shit heavily, and they all get it. But then there's those people that don't get it. But you know what I mean? If that makes sense, you know what I mean? Like, if you go to a King of the Dot crowd, like nothing's getting slept on, or if you go to a Don't Flop crowd, nothing's getting slept on, and like. I also understand that shit deserves to get slept on, but there's some things that I've heard people say in Australia, and I'm just like, man, they should have got more reaction for that or whatever. That's a different preference, but I feel like our crowds are just lacking that little bit of a knowledge, you know what I mean? Like, we almost still have to go back to those dick jokes just to get that crowd on your side again, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because, well, there was something that, you know, Carney was discussing about on the forums, and you know, I was talking about it earlier in a live stream, just doing a recap on the event for Burn Legacy. You know, from my perspective, I had like a whole bunch of bars I reckon were well, not haymakers, but definitely would have gotten reaction from the crowd. But you know, whenever I would perform them, I just got crickets. And like, there was actually one part in my third round where I just where I said, I'm trying to think back to it, but this junkie knew once he stepped off the plane that I'd have him murked, so I guess you couldn't smuggle any of your own ice for the burn. And then like seconds later, I'm like, really? No reaction? Because at the time I thought, damn, this is actually pretty, like, I wasn't hyping myself up or anything like that, but I was really confident with my material. But it just came to the point when, you know, when you get less reaction, you kind of wonder as to whether or not your material is not as good as you thought it was, or
bro,
I've said this on the
podcast a couple of times. Like, I've literally fucked myself up in battles because I like thought this was the haymaker when I was writing it, and then no one did fucking any reaction, and then I was just lost. Like, I was just like, I almost had a pause in there for people just to fucking tear the rafters down. Nothing happened, and there was crickets. I'm like, oh shit, what do I do now?
Yeah. But like,
I think that's just part of the process, though, isn't it? You got to learn to adapt and stuff, I guess.
But like, at the same time, you know, people kind of, when they look at, like, if they've seen you in the flesh before, they would kind of anticipate you to take the same approach. Like, I remember when I was battling Shades back in December, you know, I had a comedic approach in some of the bars I did, but it was mainly in my third round where I was doing, you know, the traditional back joke approach on him like everyone else does. But and you know, I kind of get the feeling that, you know, people were expecting me to take that same approach, but with my battle with Soap Suds, I was a little more bar heavy in this one, and but it just so happened that the jokes got the reaction and not the actual bars itself. Whereas when you watch a battle or attend a battle in Brisbane, everyone's going nuts over it.
Yeah. You definitely got to play to the crowd, man. That's what I was saying about this New Zealand, like this New Zealand battle. I've been watching this shit, and I can tell it's a different ball game. You know, that they're reacting to different stuff than the Australian crowd are reacting to, and you just have to adapt to those situations.
Yeah, that's it.
I think at the end of the day, though, you always and you always got to keep true to yourself to some degree as well. Like, I always said, how real or not it was, I'm not 100% sure, but I always, like, I wasn't going to write stuff that I didn't like, if that makes sense. Like, just to adapt to the crowd, I still wanted to keep it myself in the same degree.
Yeah, that's it, man. And so with this upcoming event for 1 Outs Pfak, like, aside from this battle forward, do you like have an idea of who you want to battle next, or do you, like, is there anyone you have your eyes on, like who could be up in the next rankings along with you, Vega, Cortex, and all that?
For myself, I have zero idea, and that's 100% honest. I had zero not zero, but like I was definitely going to come back at some point in time. Like I never like just like left anyone hanging or something. I've just got other shit on my plate. I was always going to come back at some point. It just so happened that within a 2-week span, I just happened to drop that comment, like I said, and all of a sudden I'm fucking going to New Zealand to battle someone. I haven't foreseen the future for myself yet. As far as everyone else, Ness, Ted,
yeah,
yourself. I've watched your last couple of battles, and I really fuck with what you're doing. I think you're one of those dudes. Like I think the dudes take on that criticism and take everything on board that people are telling him and the people that are going to go places. But there are a few that stick out in mind anyway.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you for putting me up on that list, man. I didn't really have to say that.
No, it wasn't like that, man. I don't just say things for the sake of saying them either. So that's real.
No, all good, man. But yeah, thank you very much for doing this interview with me, Dunks. It was great to finally do this after like probably a whole year of waiting to get it organised. But yeah, I'm really excited for you to.
I guess, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's nothing real, man. But I guess the fact that I'm actually going to battle now probably makes more sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's it. And I'm really excited for the fact that you're, well, I guess you could say, returning to the scene and getting back into the habit of battling. But like, whether it be 1 or 2 battles a year or whatnot, or if you're just going to stick with Dine With Dunks, like it's great that you're still showing a lot of passion for, I guess you could say this hobby of yours, but also treating it really professionally and, just trying to get people from all over the country involved in Dine With Dunks. I think what you're doing is fantastic, man, and I really want to see you keep doing that shit.
I appreciate it, man. Whether I'm doing the actual battles or I'm doing a podcast, like I've always had love for battle rap, and I've always been a part of it in some degree, and that won't change. So it's all love.
Absolutely, man. Well, yeah, I'll let you go, man. But yeah, thanks once again, and yeah, hopefully we'll speak very soon, man.
Cool, man. I appreciate it. I hope everyone enjoys this battle with Pfak, man. I'm gonna fuck this boy up.
I can't wait for it, man. It's gonna be great.
Much love, man.
Have a good one, man.
Thanks, dude. You too. Bye.
Bye.